Hello and welcome to the Ireland Rugby Social. Conor Murray, Irish and Lions legend. Our guest today is the Lions legend, Willie John McBride.
Correct.
Willie John, how are you? You're looking great.
I'm not bad, not bad. I'm sort of clinging to the wreckage a bit at this age, but
Not at all.
we're getting there.
This
It's all
is, your,
about attitude, really, at this stage.
this is your first podcast, though, so there's always room for something new.
Yes, I'm not into all these modern words, and
Chat. We said we call it a chat.
Yeah, so effectively this is our chance to speak to you about some of the fun and the stories and the serious stuff from back in the day.
yes, well, serious and not so serious. Yes, I go back quite a long time. I go way back to the 60s, and actually, it's amazing whenever I think about it. I didn't play rugby until 1957, towards the end of the school year. And then I played the following year and I got on the Ulster team, the Ulster schools team. And that at the end of that year, I was leaving school, obviously, at 18, and I was playing for the Ballymena senior team before the end of 1958.
So no rugby at primary school, no rugby at school until you were like 16, 17?
I was 17, yeah.
No way.
But you won't believe this. You know what I did sort of from an athletic point of view at that stage was pole vaulting. And I won the Ulster Schools pole vault twice in a row. 1956 and 1957.
So you were quite light.
I was skinny, very skinny. I was still quite tall, but I was quite skinny. But I was strong. And in those days, you had to be strong because you were carrying a big, heavy pole. And that was
Makes sense.
and I remember it was hilarious because I remember the schoolboys' athletic final was at Cherryvale, which was Queen's ground. And I remember you had to bring your own pole with you. And to bring a 14-foot pole from Ballymena to Cherryvale was not an easy thing in those days.
Tumbling a lift
I
down
had,
the
to
road
take, I had
again.
to take it in the train in the guard's van, and then I had to get it onto the top of the trolley bus. It was amazing how I started playing because the real reason why I didn't play or wasn't involved really in school's activity was my father died when I was 4, and there was only 4 boys, and my mother decided to keep. You see, we were war years, recovery from the war years, and we all had our own little jobs to do on the farm, so I had to get back from school every day, and there really wasn't much time for
No time for sports, yeah.
no time for sports. So by that stage, then we had got a tractor because in those early days it was all horses on the farms, and we all had our little jobs. And I remember it was hilarious because I remember my mother she was a great sort of administrator in that she sort of delegated all the jobs to and mine. I remember one of mine was pumping water for the cattle, and I remember being in it was one of those pumps that you sort of went like this, and I remember in winter time the cattle were in all the time, and I would be up there pumping away into these big tanks out of a well. And I'm pumping it up, and the cattle were drinking, and I think I'm losing ground here. It was hilarious, yeah.
So weight training of sorts then from early.
Yeah,
Well, you know, when I think of it now, like it was absolutely amazing because in those days, you know, the way you get a bag of meal, it's usually about 8 stone. In those days, they were all 10-stone bags. And, you know, I remember at the age of probably 14 getting to the truck and getting a 10-stone bag on my back and carrying it into the shed. You know, it was amazing. And yet I was able to do it. It was always, of course, you had to be strong.
And
And I
stubborn.
remember thinking, oh, I hope the lorry that they're bringing today, I hope it's a good height.
good height
so
for
that I
you-
don't
for the
have to
tall.
lift this bag. I can get it straight onto my back. But they were good days. I really enjoyed them.
Kind of days that made you.
Well, when I look back now, you know, and I do put this down to it, I played I played in 4 decades. I played the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and I finished in 1980 at the club scene. And I played 14 years in the international scene. I never left the field in my life. And I played 80 minutes in every game.
Even with a broken leg.
With the broken leg that came on, I'll never forget it, with a sponge and a bottle of water, and they rubbed it with the sponge in the bottle of water and said, I think it'll be all right. And I literally limped around the field for about 20 minutes.
You 20 minutes on a broken leg.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that at scrum half though.
No, you wouldn't get away with it these
But
days.
the-
Water
you
and a
know,
sponge. that'd be
When
fine.
I look back now, you know, I certainly was not an academic in any shape or form. And I often wonder why I went to the grammar school. But rugby, I got opportunity from rugby. And rugby really was an education to me. It taught me an awful lot. It taught me about, how to be part of a team, which I think is very important. It taught me how to sort of live with other people, other men, and to go on Lions tours. You have to be pretty tolerant at times.
You do.
And it teaches you all that sort of stuff. Not only that, but it teaches you how to be successful, or to try and be successful. You're not, but the rugby did teach you how to cope with disappointment. And by Jove, you do have disappointment.
A lot of it. Yeah.
And that was all part of it.
Resilience.
Yeah, it was good. And as I say, rugby taught me, or gave me a second education. And then, of course, I travelled all over the world. I remember the first time at 18 years of age, I had never been in an aeroplane. And I'd never been to London. I'd never been to any of these places. Coming from Money Glass, these places are way at the far side of the world.
Yeah.
And, to get on an aeroplane and fly there, and then get on an aeroplane to fly to South Africa. Like, it really all was an education.
Scared first time you were on a plane?
Again, that was hilarious because they weren't the planes that they have, the modern planes they have now, because
Propeller.
I remember going to South Africa the first time, and we flew from London. Well, I had a flight to London, and then we flew from London, I think, to Amsterdam. I think they didn't like flying over water too much. And then they flew down, and you had to refuel in so many places. And I remember we flew across and back down to Rome. And then we got to Rome, and then we flew right down the Nile. And then we got to Nairobi.
Refuel.
We played Kenya as a sort of opener in Nairobi.
Wow.
It was absolutely amazing in 1962. But I'll never forget, about 3 o'clock in the morning, we arrived into Khartoum. And I'll never forget the heat. I had never experienced heat like that and humidity like we had in Khartoum. And I remember we all decided we'd have a shower because we were having a refuel scene. And, we were worse after the shower than we were before.
Scalded all.
And it was hilarious. But then we got to Nairobi. And then, of course, South Africa, we were there for about, probably most of 4 months.
Because you have to learn to live with people.
We took the rugby to everywhere, and we went round again and round again. And the one thing that really got to me at that stage was altitude.
Yeah.
Altitude. We hadn't a clue about altitude.
It does affect you, doesn't it?
Oh,
Big time.
It was really unbelievable. And I remember we went to what's now Namibia. It was Southwest Africa, I think they called it at that time. And I remember we played a game there. And at half time, they came out with big water engines, fire engines, and they watered the whole pitch to keep the dust down. It was unbelievable. I remember we were spitting up dust for days after it. It was absolutely amazing with the heat. South African rugby hasn't changed one iota since those days. Scrum. And I remember 1974, their whole game is based on the scrum, and they're not wrong. Sid Miller was the coach. And I remember Sid and I didn't know I was going to be captain at this stage, but I remember Sid talking to me. He says, "You're playing." He was coaching Ireland at that time, that year. And I remember him talking to me after games and things, and what do you think of so and so and so and so? And mostly forwards he was wanting to talk about, because he says, we've got to pick men for South Africa that will stand up to them, because he says, if we don't scrummage, he says, we're beaten, we might as well not go. And, we were very fortunate, because we had, just to mention the test side, was Mouse McLaughlin, Bobby Windsor, who would kick his granny for sixpence, and there was Fran Cotton, there was myself and Gordon Brown, there was Fergus Slattery.
Yeah.
We picked Utley on the other side of the scrum, and there was the number 8.
The big Welshman, Mervyn Davis, was it?
Mervyn Davis.
Yeah.
Mervyn Davis was, sad. Sad. A lot of those have gone now. Mouse has just died recently. Mervyn's gone. Slats is not very well. And so it goes on,
All legends in their own right, those boys.
Amazing. But I'll never forget, we scrummaged. We were in South Africa in 74 for about, I think it was about 3.5 months. It was 22 games. Unbeaten. 22 games.
Well, how many? 30 of you?
It shows you there were 30 of us. It shows you the concentration that there was and the commitment of 30 men, not 15, 30, because those guys were all playing on Wednesdays and
Wednesday, Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, to not be beaten for 22 games. And the other thing that I would point out is this: you'll probably laugh at this, but it was very apt. I never played an Alliance tour with a neutral referee.
Go away. Always from
never
the nation.
Never a neutral referee. Now, I'm not saying they were all cheats.
You kind of are, but that's okay. That's okay. I agree with you.
But you know, Conor, you know when you're being cheated.
You do, yeah. You know, absolutely. And 22 games unbeaten.
Because I remember one game in particular, and every time we got into their 22 and looked threatening, there was a penalty. And I remember querying the referee and said, "What was that for?" And he couldn't tell me.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you're obviously not talking to them.
You know, if you're getting kicked out of the game all the time, you're out of the game. You have to work to get back into it again. So that sort of thing was happening, and it wasn't very easy. And then New Zealand.
It was a kind of lawless game back then, wasn't it? It was a bit wild and loose,
violent.
Well,
ish.
Not that Willie John would be involved in that.
One of the things that gets to me, nowadays, is all this kicking.
Guilty.
Murray, the master of the box kick.
That has been crept into the game by coaching.
Yeah.
And by the way that they play with the defence. Because there's no other way that I can see that. But I remember going in 71 to New Zealand, and Carwyn James was our coach, a wonderful little man. And I remember us having a chat a number of chats before we started to play, before the tour started properly. And he said, what is the biggest problem when we play against the All Blacks? And everybody always just sat in the other, and the All Blacks are always going to win and all sorts of things. He said, no. He says, every time a British team or an Irish team gets the ball, the first thing they do is kick it. He says, we are not going to kick the ball back. He says, it's hard to get. We're not going to kick it back to them. He says, we're going to use it. And we had a back line, I'll never forget. I've been very blessed. We have a back line of Gareth Edwards, Barry John, John Dawes, Mike Gibson, David Duckham, and Gerald Davis. And JPR Williams at the back. And I was leading, he asked me would I lead the forwards. Now, we didn't beat New Zealand in the forwards, but for the first time ever, we sort of equaled them. And I said to him, what sort of way do you want the ball? He says, look, I just want the ball. I just want the ball. I don't care how you get the ball, but we just want the ball from anywhere. We want the ball. And it was unbelievable. I remember I used to stand in awe when I saw Barry John and Gerald Davis. Well, any of them.
Yeah,
they were all superb players.
Yeah.
And Gibson, in 1971, Mike Gibson was outstanding. And he was playing in the centre.
Tell us about Gareth Edwards. Conor, give us your impressions of Gareth, and then maybe Willie John, you could give your impressions of Conor.
Oh, no, that's not how it works. Gareth Edwards is right up there as one of them, he's an icon of a scrum half, and obviously before my time, but he would have always been a name you would have heard of, and then you see clips of him playing, the way he played, the running game that he had, even back then, the intelligence he played with. I've seen loads of clips since, it's over the years, and just the clips of him, the line breaks he'd make and link and play, and I always admired Nines back in the day of playing in those conditions and that ball and what he could do with it. It's very, very different. We had the best pitches and the best ball, so it's a different game to master back then, and he was right up there.
He was, yeah, and the other thing that I admired about he had all the skills. There's no question of that.
Tough.
And he was really tough. Yeah. He was a tough guy, strong guy. But he you know it yourself. You played in the position. He took a lot of punishment. You know, you go to New Zealand and South Africa as a scrum half, you take punishment.
Yeah.
And he was able to take that punishment and carry on and still be the great Gareth Edwards. Tremendous.
He grew with it. Yeah. Like he
I
didn't
remember,
protect it.
and he, you know, I was talking earlier about kicking. I remember when you were in trouble, and I would just say to Gareth, you know, just get us out of here. If we were under a bit of pressure in our 25 or something. And he used to put in that big rolling kick, which would land about 2 yards from the touchline. And I remember, I remember he finished off Fergie McCormick, who was the New Zealand fullback, because he just rolled these kicks, and it was a wet, miserable day in the first test.
Play, yeah.
And he just kicked those down, and all Fergie could do was just tap it into touch, and we had another
Your line out, yeah.
It was amazing. The game has changed amazingly.
For better or worse, what do you think?
Well, some of it maybe for a bit better, and that players are looked after a lot better. But, you know, I would like to see players, when I see coaches sitting in the stand talking tactics down to the
mics, yeah.
Yes, you know, and, you know, when I see a captain taken off the field, I remember in 74, and even when it was said in the Irish team, you know, you did what they call it the captain's run or something now.
Oh, yeah, the day before, yeah.
Yeah, but that was the end. The coach said, right, you're in charge now. As captain, you're in charge.
Yeah.
We've done all the work. There's nothing more to do.
No more talking.
No more
to
talking.
Coaches.
You've got to get them on the field, and you've got to keep them right. And you've got to make your decisions on the field. And but whereas now, I don't think that's happening.
No, nowadays it's
how they can
the
take
coaches
the
are involved.
Yeah, how they can take the captain off the field, I don't know. It just is beyond me.
Yeah, so you have like vice captains and all these days that it can be difficult.
We didn't have vice captains.
No.
Has the replacements element made it a very different game?
Well, it did in my day because we didn't have any reserves. If you got injured, you know, in the Irish team, if you got injured, they put you out in the wing because you knew the ball wasn't going to get there. But, you know, you if you could stay on the field, you stayed in the field. If not, you just played with 14 men and that was it. So replacement was very important for injury. And I'll be quite honest, that's one of the things that annoys me terribly. We have changed the rugby from a 15-man game into a 23-man game, and that drives me crazy. You know, they talk about bomb squads and all this stuff. Absolute nonsense. and you know, it's sad because the number of times in a rugby match, when I was playing, the number of times that you had got hold of the opposition and the last 20 minutes were vital.
And then
But for somebody to stick 5 players back onto the field against 15 tired guys, it's just not fair. It's just not good. And
especially
not only
South
that,
Africa, and you can bring
not only that,
another...
the chances of injury are so much more liable to happen because you have fresh men against tired men. Let's put it that way. And you know, they're putting on. There's these guys that they rush on at the end, 25 stone probably. There's probably a front row of 25 stone each, and a couple of other huge guys.
They can win a
there's
scrum.
no way that they could play 80 minutes of rugby. So that's unfair for a start. No, it's the whole game is. I think it's wrong in that they've done this. So when you say is it good or is it bad or is it better today, there's some of it. Yes, a lot of it is better, but there's an awful lot of it that is bad, and that is one of them. I think we should get back to a 15-man game with reserves for injury only.
Injury only.
Injury only. And I think we would have a much better game. The other thing that drives me mad about today's game...
Keep going.
Get it out of the system.
The other thing, they probably think I'm a grumpy old man.
No, not at all.
But the other thing that... it must be the only game in the world where the referee tells you how to play. When I hear the referee saying, leave it, get back on side.
Yeah.
You know, and the scrum, of course, is a farce. And, you know, they're not refereeing the laws. They're not refereeing the laws because the law obviously says you put the ball in straight.
I've never done that in my life.
Well, there you are.
No.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing is wrong. When did you last see the ball hooked against the head?
No,
Never.
I can't even. No,
Probably
it doesn't
never.
happen.
I can remember playing, and I mentioned Bobby Windsor earlier on, and Bobby Windsor and Ken Kennedy. And I remember those two guys, they used to have their heads so low.
And have a scrap for the
Well, they hooked
scrap
the
for the
ball-
ball to
hooked the
try and
ball
hook
with
it
their
yeah.
head.
With their heads.
With their head, yeah.
Oh.
That's a different game. Different game.
It was unbelievable. And strong men, we had strong men in those days. The scrum was a total farce as far as I'm concerned. For referees to be lecturing people in the scrum, they were never in the scrum in their life. They don't know what it's like to be in there. They don't know what the difficulties are. And, I just can't understand that we have a game that the referee tells you, if somebody's offside, he's offside, you penalise him.
Yeah, referees coach people through
The
games.
other thing is this thing of jumping in the air.
Yeah.
I tell you, in the days we played, you didn't jump in the air. you took, because there's no need to jump in the air for most of the situations that there are. You could stand and take it, and you took the punishment with it.
Yeah, so it's in the air nowadays. You're protected once you leave the ground.
Very much so.
You know what I mean? That's
Very much so. So I don't believe in jumping. Anybody that jumps in the air is their own problem. As far as I'm concerned.
6'6", you know what I mean? What about the small fellas?
Yeah.
No TMOs back in your day, which is probably a good thing.
This is the other thing. There's so many referees now. I can't remember. Somebody told me there was one of these recent games lasted for 100 and something.
Yeah, there's an issue with the time,
that's just nonsense.
The crowd were getting disinterested, and
there's about 5 referees, and they're all having their own say.
It's just, and they take forever to make a decision.
We had a situation there with the Springboks, where one of our best players, Tagburn, was red carded.
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's rescinded after the game. The whole thing is nonsense.
That was brutal because it ruined the game.
Well, of course,
it was a big part of ruining that game.
And the other thing that I say is this: I don't go to the matches anymore. I watch it on TV, but and sometimes I turn it off. I must admit.
Turn off the volume or turn off the match.
Turn off the whole thing.
Obviously, none of my games, but yeah.
But no, it's funny.
It can be frustrating.
It can be very frustrating, yeah. But the scrummage, you see, in our day, and I still believe that the team that scrummages best is usually the team that wins the match, even today.
South Africa proven that, haven't
They've proven that. I never forget playing. I mentioned our test side and our test pack in '74. I remember going down, and the last thing I said to the team before we went on the field, it was in Newlands, and it was actually a wet day. And I remember saying to them, right, we'd done all the work, everybody knew what their job was. And I said, the very first scrummage that we have and are put in, I said, I want us to stop the ball with Mervyn Davis at the back. And on my call, we will lift these guys and push them back. And I said, psychologically, that is very important, not only for us, but for them. And I'll never forget, we went out, and sure enough, after about 10 minutes, our scrum. And Gareth was standing with the ball, and I was on the scrum, and our scrum was very low because we had Mouse, you had Bobby Windsor, and you had Franny. And I remember my head, and I could see right up, and I'll never forget, Mouse had his man down about 6 inches off the ground, and he was just holding him there. And Bobby's head was virtually on the ground too. And I could see Gareth go to put the ball. I thought he's not going to get the ball in.
To fit it in, yeah.
And I'll never forget, Mouse just lifted up his prop.
To give room for the ball.
Gareth put the ball in. Bobby Windsor hooked it with his head and brought it back to Mervyn. I'll never forget it. And I gave the call to lift it because once there's a secret in scrummaging. If you take the first punch coming from them, you can hit them on the rebound and take them away. And I knew that, and we did it because we practiced this for ages and ages. We scrummaged every day for 3.5 months. Every day.
Every day?
Every day in life that we trained. And anyway, in this situation, the very first scrum, and I called, and we took them back, and we drove them back, 2 or 3 yards. And you could hear the silence in the South African stands, because we had no supporters in those days the way they have now.
Oh, sure, you wouldn't have had it, yeah.
Oh, maybe a dozen people.
Yeah.
and you'd have heard you could hear,
They're not used to seeing that.
They couldn't believe that the Springboks had been pushed back. It was unbelievable. But
Wow.
I'll never forget Mouse and Bobby Windsor. And Bobby sort of talked a bit through his nose, and Bobby said, he said, you didn't like that, did you?
Oh, the chirping.
As they were all on the ground. And Mouse, of course, hard little Glaswegian, he followed it up. He thought this was brilliant.
Yeah.
And he says, aye, and there's 80 more effing minutes of it, he says. Oh, they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But scrummaging is a very important part of the game, and I think we've made a total mess of it. I don't know why we've changed it. The other thing is this, it seems to be that when you wheel the scrum now, that you're
Reset.
penalised.
Oh, yeah.
You're usually penalised. It was a move in my day.
To walk around, to
And the easiest thing in the world is an option out, actually,
yeah.
because the easiest thing in the world is to wheel a scrum.
Mm-hmm.
The poorest scrum can be wheeled by them. It always goes left.
Yeah, just let off pressure.
And in my day, there was a move that the number 8 picked it. You moved it left. Number 8 picked it up, and away you went.
Mm.
It was great. But you know, Conor is a scrum half. If your scrum is good, you have so many more choices.
Different game, yeah, different
You
game.
have so many more choices.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what and it was part of Gareth. Gareth loved that.
It was a huge physical battle, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes legally and sometimes not.
Yeah.
In that day and age.
Well, you see, the other thing we
legal
talk
stuff
about
we want.
legally. One of the things that frightens me out of the present day game, it is so physical. And, in our day, you weren't allowed to take the man out without the ball. And I don't know, nowadays I see guys, they talk of this clearing out.
Oh, yeah. It's
Absolute
developed,
nonsense.
yeah.
And, that's when you're most vulnerable. That's when you can be injured.
Mm-hmm.
If you're tackled without the ball, that's when you're relaxed. And I think it's a very serious. I'm waiting for a very serious injury. One of these
From the attacking team,
yes,
taking out the defenders. Is that what you mean with the clearing?
yeah. When you're going in, yeah.
Yeah, it's very tactical
And
nowadays.
I think referees are very poor on that. I also think they're very poor at players going in the side of the rucks. Well, they don't have rucks now; they have pile-ups.
That's where all the cruciate and knee injuries all happen nowadays.
That's
It's
right,
in or under breakdown. Yeah,
And the head injuries, I can't understand, Conor. You've played in this
yeah.
professional era. Why do we take the ball in two hands and go in with our head?
In terms of ball carrying, I think there's a lot of pressure on players to carry low, to like body height to win. We call it winning the body height. So to carry at people's hips or whatever. So you're obviously running into hard areas of the body, and a lot of concussions happen with the ball carrier, with the guy with the ball.
But that's what
You know
I mean.
what I mean, yeah.
It's a huge problem for the game.
It's very hard to remember. They were going to trial. You could only tackle below the hips. You can't tackle upper. But like it's
But
it is messy. It's very messy.
Yeah, but life's not like that.
No.
When you're on the field and
No,
you have
it's
decision,
a physical game. Yeah.
split-second decision. Life is not like that. But no, I always carry the ball in one arm. And somebody said to me, "Oh, would they take the ball off?" They never took the ball to me.
You're an exception. No, I know what you mean. But you're probably strong enough to hold off people as well.
To fend off.
Fend off, yeah. That's all still allowed, but
Yeah.
You had to keep the hand free to swing at people.
yeah.
There was a bit of that one on.
Well,
As you're going
that's
through the-
another thing. All
Yeah.
this thing of holding jerseys and pushing guys and threatening them and
Can't do, yeah. There's no, you haven't seen a punch thrown in the game. Well, you obviously can't anymore, but
Go on, Willie John.
no, I have no teeth left.
Is it true you decked someone in the crowd one day?
oh no.
It is.
No.
Oh yeah,
No,
I can
no.
see him thinking of how to.
I
how
can
do
tell you.
answer
I
this
can
one?
tell you a good story. We had a difficult game in Durban,
Yeah.
and I remember we were out on the field and we had a good team, and they had refilled every ground to the
Really? Wow.
door, because first of all they wanted to see us beaten,
Mm-hmm.
and secondly they enjoyed our play, and there was two reasons, and they had sold the crowd were down nearer to the touchline than that fireplace.
Go on.
And there was a guy called Tommy Bedford. was captain of the Durban, or the team. And I remember at one, we had scored a couple of tries, I think, and the crowd were a bit disappointed. And JPR tackled Tommy Bedford into the crowd because he couldn't. He tackled him, but he couldn't miss the crowd.
Yeah.
And when he got in the crowd, there was some guy hit him. Some guy in the crowd hit JPR.
You saw this.
Then there was a whole schmozzle. And then the next thing, they started throwing those wee oranges they have in from the crowd. And these things were reeling down, and we were there. And the next thing, they started throwing cans of beer. And I thought, this is dangerous. And I shouted, guys, get to the middle of the field, get to the middle of the field, because I thought they won't be able to throw them that far. And we got to the middle of the field, and I remember the referee came across, and he said, what's this about? And I said, they're throwing those full cans of beer. I said, if somebody gets hit with that, I said, it's serious.
Yeah.
And the next thing, this can of beer came flying, and it bounced and rolled, and it was just about four or 5 yards away. And I saw Bobby Windsor looking at it, and I knew. I says, Bobby, no.
Yeah.
No.
You're in the middle of the game.
Don't tell Bobby what to do. Bobby picked up the can, opened it, took a sip, and reached it to the referee.
Stop that.
Yeah.
That is a different
Oh,
vibe.
dear. And I says, ref.
Bobby, no. Bobby, no.
I said, ref, if you don't get this stopped, I said, it's becoming farcical. And I said, if you don't get it stopped, I said, I'm taking the team off.
How did you
And he says, well, what can I do? I says, you have all sorts of people there on the touchline who are supposed to be looking after security. I says, get somebody to announce from the PA system that you must settle down.
Stop throwing full cans of beer at the flares.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
And did it work? Did it calm down?
Oh, they did, yeah. And then we scored, we gave them a hammering.
Brilliant.
It was unbelievable, yeah.
Full cans of beer.
So Bobby quenched his thirst. We weren't allowed to drink in those days. Everything you see now in the rugby field,
Yeah.
no matter if somebody's taking a kick, the first thing they do is take a drink.
Oh, you weren't allowed. Sorry, just
We weren't allowed
during the
that.
game.
We got a little bit of orange at half time. We didn't come off, you see.
no water at all.
Nothing. You weren't allowed water. No. You weren't allowed to drink. And the worst thing you could take on your stomach is acid.
Yeah,
We-
an orange
we
juice.
got this orange at half time. It was absolutely crazy.
Willie John, we could keep you all night, but it's getting dark here in Ballyclare.
I know. Days are short.
Days are short.
There he is, the Lions legend on the Ireland Rugby Social. We'll take that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Willie John.
Not at all. It's amazing. But you don't have to believe it all, you know.
I believe every word. Every single word.